everybody. So in this video I will be showing you some of my Stephen King's books. He's one of my favorite writers, and I probably have all of his books, but I will show you just a few of them today. And there won't be any spoilers. I'll just in no particular order. First, it's Stephen King Revival. I'm reading this one. Well, I'm rereading it at the moment. So, in a small New England town, over half a century ago, a shadow falls over a small boy playing in the yard with his toy soldiers. Jamie Morton looks up to see a striking man, the new minister. Reverend Charles Jacobs, along with his beautiful wife, will transform the local church. The men and boys are all a bit in love with Miss Jacobs. The women and girls feel the same about Reverend Jacobs, including Jamie's mother and beloved sister Claire. With Jamie, the Reverend shares a deeper bond based on a secret obsession. When tragedy strikes the Jacobs family, this charismatic preacher curses God, mocks all religious belief, and is banished from this shocked town. Jamie has demons of his own. With his guitar from the age of 13, he plays in bands across the country, living the nomadic lifestyle of bar band rock and roll, while fleeing from his family's horrific loss. In his mid-30s, addicted to heroin, stranded, desperate, Jamie meets Charles Jacobs again, with profound consequences for both men. Their bond becomes packed beyond even the devil's devising, and Jamie discovers that revival has many meanings. Next one is Cell. On October 1st, God is in his heaven stock market stands at 10 or 40. Most of the planes are on time, and Clayton Riddle, an artist from Maine, is almost bouncing up Boylston Street in Boston. He's just landed a comic book deal that might finally enable him to support his family by making art instead of teaching it. He's already picked up a small but expensive gift for his long-suffering wife, and he knows just what he'll get for his boy Johnny. Why not a little treat for himself? Clay's feeling good about the future. That changes in a hurry. The cause of devastation is a phenomenon that will come to be known as the pulse. And the delivery method is a cell phone. Everyone's cell phone. Clay and the few desperate survivors who join him suddenly find themselves in the pitch black night of civilization's darkest age, surrounded by chaos, carnage, and a human horde that has been reduced to its basest nature, and then begins to evolve. There's really no escaping this nightmare, a promise, perhaps, or a threat. There are 193 million cell phones in the United States alone. Who doesn't have one? Stephen King's utterly gripping, gory, and fascinating novel doesn't just ask the question, "Can you hear me now?" It answers it with a vengeance. Next one is, let me see, Vagabond. I love this one. They made a movie. It's all dirty here. Anyway. Stephen King's most gripping and unforgettable novel, Vagabonds, is a story of grief and lost love's enduring bonds, of a new love haunted by the secrets of the past, of an innocent child caught in a terrible crossfire. Set in the Maine territory, King has made mythic Vagabonds recounts of 40-year-old best-selling novelist Mike Noonan, who is unable to stop grieving even 4 years after the sudden death of his wife Jo, and who can no longer. Now his nights are plagued by vivid nightmares of the house by the lake. Despite his dreams, or perhaps because of them, Mike finally returns to Sarah Love, the Noonan's isolated summer home. He finds his beloved Yankee town familiar on its surface, but much change underneath. Max DeVore, who twists the very fabric of the community to his purpose: to take his 3-year-old granddaughter away from her widowed young mother. As Mike is drawn into their struggle, as he falls in love with both of them, he is also drawn into mystery of Sarah love. Now, the sight of ghostly visitations, ever-escalating nightmares, and the sudden recovery of his writing ability. What are the forces that have been unleashed here, and what do they want of Mike Noonan? Next one. The girl who loved Tom Gordon. The world had teeth, and it could bite you with them any time it wanted. Tricia McFarlane discovered this when she was 9 years old. At 10 o'clock in the morning in early June, she was sitting in the back seat of her mother's Dodge Caravan, wearing her blue Red Sox batting practice jersey, the one with 36 Gordon on the back, and playing with Mona, her doll. At 10:30, she was lost in the woods. By 11, she was trying not to be terrified, trying not to let herself think, this is serious, this is very serious, trying not to think that sometimes when people got lost in the woods, they got seriously hurt. Sometimes they died. Next book. It's an original screenplay. Storm of the Century. They're calling it the Storm of the Century, and it's coming hard. The residents of the little tall island have seen their share of nasty Maine nor'easters, but this one is different. Not only is it packing hurricane force winds and up to 5 feet of snow, it's bringing something worse, something even the islanders have never seen before, something no one wants to see. Just as the first flakes begin to fall, Martha Clarendon, one of the little tall island's oldest residents, suffers an unspeakably violent death. While her blood dries, Andre Lenoir, the man responsible, sits calmly in Martha's easy chair, holding his cane, topped with a silver wolf's head, waiting. Lenoir knows the town folks will come to arrest him. He will let them, for he has come to the island for one reason. And when he meets Constable Mike Anderson, his beautiful wife and child, and the rest of the little tall, tight-knit community, this stranger will make one simple proposition to them. Give me what I want, and I'll go away. I love this. Next book is Dreamcatcher. I love the purple. It took me a long time to read this one. I remember I wasn't feeling all that good. I had a flu, and I was trying to read this, but I was drifting in and out of sleep. So I have to reread it again. Once upon a time, in the haunted city of Derry, side of the classics, It and Insomnia. I've never read it, by the way. 4 boys stood together and did the brave thing. Certainly a good thing. Perhaps even a great thing. Something that changed them in ways they could never begin to understand. 25 years later, the boys are now men with separate lives and separate troubles. Each hunting seasons, the forced them reunite in the woods of Maine. This year, a stranger stumbles into their camp, disoriented, mumbling something about lights in the sky. Before long, these men will be plunged into a horrifying struggle with a creature from another world. Their only chance of survival is locked in their shared past and in the Dreamcatcher. Stephen King's first full-length novel since Bag of Bones is more than anything a story of how men remember and how they find their courage. Desperation. Nevada is mostly a long stretch of desert you cross on the way to somewhere else, and with someone else, if you're lucky, because it's a scary place. Headed down Route 50 in the brutal summer heat are people who are never going to reach their destinations, like the Jacksons, a professor and his wife going home to New York City. The Carvers, a Wentworth, Ohio family bound for vacation at Lake Tahoe, and aging literally lion, Johnny Marinville, inventing a gonzo image for himself astride a 700-pound Harley. A dead cat nailed to a road sign rules the little mining town of Desperation, a town that seems withered in the shade of a man-made mountain known as the China Pit. But it's worse than that, much worse. Regulating the traffic there is Cully, an outsized uniformed madman who considers himself the only law west of the Pecos. God forbid you should be missing a license plate or find yourself with a flat tire. There's something very wrong here. Alright, and Kali is only the surface of it. This book is in my top 5, and my number 1 is probably The Shining, and this book is about Dan, who's the little boy in The Shining. And returns to the character and territory of one of his most popular novels ever, The Shining. In this instantly riveting novel about the now middle-aged Dan Torrance and the very special 12-year-old girl he must save from a tribe of murderous paranormals. On highways across America, a tribe of people called the True Knot travel in search of sustenance. They look harmless, mostly old, lots of polyester, and married to their RVs. But as Dan Torrance knows, and spunky 12-year-old Abra Stone learns, the True Knot are quasi-immortal, living off the steam that children with the Shining produce when they are slowly tortured to death. Haunted by inhabitants of the Overlook Hotel, where he spent one horrific childhood year, Dan has been drifting for decades, desperate to shed his father's legacy of despair, alcoholism, and violence. Finally, he settles in New Hampshire town, an AA community. Hated by a cat, he becomes Dr. Sleep. Then Dan meets the evanescent Abra Stone, and it is her spectacular gift, the brightest shining ever seen, that reunites Dan's own demons and summons him to a battle for Abra's soul and survival. This is an epic war between good and evil, a gory, glorious story that would thrill millions of devoted readers of The Shining. Mr. Mercedes. In the pre-dawn hours, in a distressed American city, hundreds of unemployed men and women line up for the opening of a job fair. They are tired and cold and desperate. Emerging from the fog, invisible until it is too late, a lone driver plows through the crowd in a stolen Mercedes, running over innocent, backing up and charging again. 8 people are killed, 15 are wounded. The killer escapes. Months later, an ex-cop named Bill Hodges, still haunted by the unsolved crime, contemplates suicide. When he gets a crazed letter from the perk claiming credit for the murders, Hodges wakes up from his depressed and vacant retirement, fearing another, even more diabolical attack, and hell-bent on preventing it. Brady Hartfield lives with his alcoholic mother in the house where he was born. He loved the feel of death under the wheels of the Mercedes, and he wants that rush again. Only Bill Hodges, with a couple of eccentric and mismatched allies, can apprehend the killer before he strikes again. And they have no time to lose, because Brady's next mission, if it succeeds, will kill or maim thousands. Mr. Mercedes is a war between good and evil, from the master of suspense, whose insight into the mind of this obsessed, insane killer is chilling and unforgettable. Blood drops. This one is just after sunset, just a bunch of short horror stories. Remember how many stories are here. Willa, the gingerbread girl, Harvey's dream, rest stop, stationary bike, the things they left behind, graduation afternoon, and the cat from hell, The New York Times. Special bargain rents. Mute, Hyena. A very tight place. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Of course. Of course there's 13. Full dark, no stars. I believe there is another man inside every man, a stranger. This one is another short stories, and I think this one only has a few. Yeah, it has 4 and 1922. Big Driver, Fair Extension, A Good Marriage. Next one is Insomnia, which is a pretty good book. A good book. I liked. Ralph Roberts has a problem. He isn't sleeping so well these days. In fact, he's hardly sleeping at all. Each morning, the news conveyed by the bedside clock is a little worse. 3:15, 3:02, 2:45, 2:15. The books call it premature waking. Ralph, who is still learning to be a widower, calls it a season in hell. He's begun to notice a strangeness in his familiar surroundings, to experience visual phenomena that he can't quite believe are hallucinations. Soon, Ralph thinks he won't be sleeping at all, and what then? Well, I have other, what is that, 25 books, but I think we're good for now. Thank you for watching.